Our topic for today is finding in God our source of help and authority. Our theme verse is coming from Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt diligently hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Here is Moses encouraging the people to hearken diligently, listen diligently to the voice of God, and to be diligent to do his commandments. And there is a promise given that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. If we go to Proverbs chapter 31, you have in the last chapter of Proverbs a description of the virtuous woman. If you look at this, the leader, the the description of this woman, she is a leader. She girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. She buys a field and plants a vineyard. She gives food to her household and a portion to her maidens. She brings her food like a merchant ship from afar. She works willingly with her hands. So this is a description of a very good leader. And mummy also is a natural born leader, right? And God has called you to tasks of great responsibility. And there are three things. There are many things that make a good leader, but today I want to tell about three things that is essential for a good leader. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 28. It reads, "In the multitude of people is the king's honor, but in the want of people is the destruction of the prince." Another translation says, "It's the king's glory to have many people under his realm. But when you don't have people, when you don't have support, it's a destruction. It's the destruction of a prince." For a leader, you need people. What does a HR manager do if there is no humans? What does a human resource manager do without any humans? A king and a prince and a leader is nothing without the support of his people. It's nothing without the love and the affection that people give. And it is leaders' great privilege to keep the affections of his people with him, to be worthy to lead them. Proverbs says, he that is friendly, he that has many friends, must shew himself friendly." If you have many friends, you cannot be grumpy. You cannot be. It pushes away people. You cannot be unapproachable. In order to gain the love of people, we need to love them first. A leader is known by his contribution, by his service. The greater his contribution, her contribution, the greater his or her service, that much greater is the leader. And Jesus showed that example. God loved us first. We love him because he loved us first. We love him because he has loved us first. Only by love is love begotten. Only by loving people can we get their love back. And in spending our life in service, in contributing to their good, do we become valuable in society? The first thing is being worthy of the love and affection of your people whom you lead. In Proverbs 15, you have the second characteristic, the second important trait that leaders should have. Proverbs 15:33. The fear of the Lord is the beginning, is the instruction of wisdom. And before honor is humility. Great leaders are humble leaders. The more humbler you are, the greater a leader you are. The fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. Before Jesus could have the crown, he must have the cross. Before he could become great and be placed at the right hand of God, seated at the right hand of God, he had to go through the process of humiliation. If we are humble, God will lift us up. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. James 4:10. The more humbler we become in the sight of God, the more he will lift us up. In Matthew chapter 20, verse 26, it also talks of Jesus telling about the same, the leader and his humility. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. Humility is not just in heart, but also humility in deeds. We show our humility by being a servant, a minister to others. The greatest leader is a servant. He is indispensable to the people because he does a service for them. The more humbler you are, the greater the leader you become. The first one is gaining the love and affection of the people. Second is being humble. And the third is coming from the life of Joseph. Genesis chapter 42 verse 6. And Joseph was a governor over the land, and he was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. Joseph, the one who was sold, who was mistreated, he went from the pit to the prison to the palace. He was hated. He was misrepresented, falsely accused, and wasn't rewarded for his hard or good work. But yet he was faithful, and when he became a leader, you have his brothers, the ones who started all of this, who have put him through so much of misery, come to him and bow down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. Here was Joseph. He had them in his power. He had the people who put him through so much trouble, so much of misery. And these people were now in his hands. What should Joseph do? The measure of a good leader is how well does he behave? What is his character when he has absolute authority? When he can do whatever he can and get away with it. Absolute power, they say, corrupts absolutely. Power corrupts people. Proverbs says, the poor pleads, but the rich answers harshly. The rich think that their wealth is their fortified city. It's a wall too high to climb. It does something when you are in power. When you feel powerful, it changes you. But a good leader is consistent. His character never changes. Joseph could have done whatever he wanted with those people, with his brethren. But yet, he chose to be faithful, just as he was faithful all throughout his life. He stuck to principles, and whether power or change of circumstances came, he did not let his character change. Influence is a talent, along with health, time, money. Influence, having influence on the minds of other people, is a talent. It's a gift. It's a gift if people can respect you, if they can look up to you, and if they feel that your word is valuable. If you are a valuable person, you are trustworthy. But just as a hurricane or a tornado leaves the grass untouched and destroys the great big mighty trees, in the same way, the problems of life that don't affect people when they are in their uh, humble state, they destroy them when they become go up to an exalted state, when they become a leader. But Jesus has said, whatever you have done to the least of these my brethren, you have done it to me. And if we have strong principles, we will not let our character change when we go up in position of leadership. So 3 things. Number 1 is gaining the love and affection of the people. Number 2, being humble. And number 3, not letting power corrupt you. If you look at the life of David, there are several leaders. You have Esther, you have prophetesses, several prophetesses in the Bible, and you have several women who were, several men and women who were great leaders, and you have David, one of the leaders who's best to remember. He, in fact, became the gold standard of leadership. Every other king that came after him, it was said this king was walked in the ways of his father David, and he walked uprightly before the Lord. If the king was not good, then they would be compared with some other evil king, Jeroboam or Asa. No, not Asa. Some other king that was evil, or that the father of that king who was evil. So you have these kings measured by, if they were good, they were measured by David. That he became like the gold standard. He became like the perfect example to emulate. Good leaders leave behind a good example. And David followed all of these 3 things. When he was in power, he did not kill Mephibosheth, but he brought him to his house. The son of the grandson of the one who persecuted him so much. He was a threat to his dynasty. But he brought him and he made him, treated him like one of his sons, made him eat at his own table. He was humble. When he became king, he said, "Who am I? I was a shepherd tending to sheep. God brought me here and gave me all of these things. I'm so unworthy." And he gained the love of the people. He was loved by the people. Loved because he fights the Lord's battle. He fought the Lord's battles. And he was loved for his faithfulness to his people. When the angel was killing the people, he said, what are these sheep done? It's all my fault. I am the one who has brought this plague on the people. He loved his people and he gave his life in service for them. So we also can be like leader. And as you're celebrating your birthday, God has called you to be a leader. And I pray that you'll lay hold on the calling that God has called you to. Lay hold of. I pray that you would also fulfill His great conditions. Our theme text is Deuteronomy chapter 21 verse 28 verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. God bless us all.
Amen.